Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, can somebody confirm that you're able to see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So yesterday, actually, we stopped at the example on the Spring Boot. Okay. So we have completed a basic programming of basic project actually on the Spring Boot. Okay. So now let's see let's dig in deeper for Spring Boot. Okay. What exactly it was. Okay. Yeah. So we'll start with goals of Spring Boot. Okay. So yesterday, whenever whenever the Spring Boot concept came in, actually, we were talking about only because if to build a production ready app very quickly, you know. So in that case, actually, Spring Boot is helping us, in all the ways. Okay, to build a production ready application with very faster approach. Okay, so what are all the pillars of it, right? Like, when we say something like if the Spring Boot is giving a very quick very quick build, sorry. So Spring Boot is capable like to enough to build an app very quickly, right? So how it is possible, right? It internally has multiple things to cap to build a to build a which will help us to build an app very quickly. So I'm just starting with four different things. One is Spring Initializer. Okay, when it comes to build quickly, these are the main roles. These are the main things which are playing big role in building those apps. So first is Spring Initializer, and Spring Boot starter projects, Boot starter projects, and Spring Boot auto configuration, Spring Boot dev tools. Okay, Spring Initializer, right? What is a Spring Initializer? I think we already know Spring Initializer. Generally, we go with Spring.io here. Spring.io initializer, start.spring.io. So what is this initializer, right? So if you remember, actually, when if you want to develop a Spring application, Spring related application, okay, so you don't require to go and create a project in Eclipse. So there, Spring Initializer provides its own uh, project, okay, uh, development steps in a very easy way. Okay, so you just need to select couple of radio buttons and give the group name and artifact name, and what is the packaging and what exactly the Java version that you wanted to do, and you wanted to add any dependencies, you can add it over here. That's it. Once everything is done, just click on this. Okay, generate, right? So once it is, when you click on the generate, actually it creates a raw project for you, okay, with all those names, whatever you have given, and it will be downloaded to you. I think last time we have done it for Spring Boot project, the demo project, whatever we are doing. Okay, so this is the main use of Spring Initializer. It will be a very quick project related structure it is going to form, and it will be giving you. Okay, so what this is helping, it helps us to create easily a Spring Boot initial application. And I think we already used it, okay, to create one of the demo project for Spring Boot. Okay, so let us go for the next one. Okay, Spring Boot starter projects. What is this? Spring Boot starter projects. Okay. So if you keenly observe, Spring Boot starter projects were, yeah. So Spring Boot starter project was actually, let me give you an example. Okay. So the first Spring Boot project, whatever you have, whatever we have done it here, right? This is the first Spring Boot project. Okay. So we have, okay, so ignore, the changes, whatever you see today. Okay. But yesterday when you, one second, let me run this. Okay. Just a minute. Okay. So that let it run. Okay. Before that, actually, if you remember, like when it is up and running, okay, so it was giving some kind of JSON response, right? And to run these things, actually, it requires some help, from the embedded Tomcat and all, correct? So there are several frameworks, or there are several APIs that we required, starting from Spring to JSON conversion. Okay, we need to use several frameworks to build this REST service, right? So if you see here, the application is up and running, right now. So if I go to browser, so if I go to browser and just hit localhost, hey, one second, sorry, localhost courses. Okay, so it gave me these things, right? ID1, and this is the response which I got it. Okay, so let me come step by step. So to develop a REST service, we need some API. Okay, to do some conversion, like we were converting one of the course object to JSON, right? So for this conversion, we need some API. Okay, and to bring up, like to bring that this application up and running, you need some kind of embedded server related APIs, right? To in your project, right? So for this also, we need some API, or we need some framework, okay, in our application. So Spring Boot, Spring Boot starter projects, what it does, right? Simply, it is going to bring one unique API, or one unique framework, or one unique dependency, okay, to build a entire application, okay, in a way that you don't require to worry about this dependency is missing, that dependency is missing, something like that. Okay. Okay. So, like a starter projects provides convenient features for different dependencies. Okay. So grouping all of them into one, which is going to be done by Spring Boot starter projects. Okay. So I'll show you some example, why I'm saying. Okay. So if you see here in the Spring initializer, when we are creating those projects, okay, just search for something. Okay, Spring Web. Okay, Spring Web is one of our dependency, and this is our Spring Boot starter projects, right? Okay, so what you see here, Spring Web is one of the dependency which we will be using for building web application, including RESTful services, application using Spring MVC, and uses Apache Tomcat as default embedded container. So instead of getting 4 dependencies in your project. If you add Spring Web, your project is compatible. Your project is ready to work any of these things. Spring MVC, RESTful, or if you are building a web application, yes, it supports, right? So that is the main feature of Spring Boot starter project. Okay, so let me go back to PPT. Okay, so if you see, I need a lot of frameworks to build, okay, build application features. Okay, if you wanted to build a REST API, you need Spring, Spring MVC, Tomcat, JSON conversion. Okay, and if you want to write unit test, I need Spring Test, JUnit, Mockito. So the question is, how can I group them into make easy to build applications? Starters provide convenient dependency descriptors for different features. Okay, so let me. I think we already discussed this thing, right? Like Spring Boot provides variety of starter projects. Okay, one is web application and REST API. So Spring Boot Starter Web. This is what we saw it. Spring Web MVC, Spring Web, Spring Booter Start Tomcat, Spring Booter Starter JSON. Okay, where do you find these things? I'll show you. Okay, just a minute. Okay, for unit test, we have Spring Boot Starter Test. And if you want to talk with JPA database, we have Spring Boot Starter Data JPA. And if you want to use JDBC, to connect the database, we have a different starter project. And we do have, if you want to secure your web application, we have Spring Boot Starter Security. Okay, so remember, starters define all application dependencies. So when you say application dependencies, where do you find all these things, right? In the pom.xml. Okay, so pom.xml will contain all our dependencies, for the project, right? So let me show you something. Okay, so we were talking about Spring Boot Starter Web, right? Let me go inside of it. Okay, this is our Spring Boot dependencies. Okay, let me go to Spring Boot Starter Web. Okay, so if you see here, Spring Boot Starter Web, yes. Okay, what do you see here? Spring Boot Starter Web contain multiple things. Okay, what is Spring Boot Starter? And the other one is Spring Boot Starter JSON. This is what I was trying to say. If you wanted to convert that courses object, to JSON, and vice versa from JSON to course object. So this is going to take care, without any problems. Okay, we never did any. We did not added any kind of external code, to convert those objects, to JSON, or the JSON to object. We did not added any external code till now, right? So it was taken care by Spring Boot Starter JSON. Okay, and whenever you see something in the application, okay, you see the console, right? It says Tomcat started at port 8080, right? So why you are seeing that? Because there is a dependency which we already have it on under the Spring Web. Okay, so what is that? Spring Boot Starter Tomcat. So this is our embedded Tomcat, which comes with Spring Boot Starter projects. Okay, and this is used for starting our application, very fast. Okay, because this is embedded, right? So when I say embedded, actually, you don't require to have anything installed in your system. Okay, you just need only Java to run all these projects. Okay, so the Tomcat will trigger on its own when you run the main application of this you know main application file. When you run it, Tomcat will auto kick off, and it will make your application up and running. Okay, so similarly, if you want to use Spring Web related and Web MVC related, So we already have some frameworks, okay, ready in the dependency. So this is how, like, it is very, like, very useful product, very useful, projects, whatever you see it in the Spring Boot starter projects. Okay. So it will definitely help you guys, to build the application very quickly with those dependencies. Yeah. Just think. Sorry. Okay. So let me go to the next one. Yeah. The next one is Spring Boot auto configuration, right? Okay. For an application, okay, we were getting those dependencies, okay, but initially it requires a lot of configuration, for Spring, and for when we are doing those Spring project, actually, we required a lot of configuration, right? So what exactly these how Spring Boot auto configuration helping us, um, to minimize these configurations things, right? So whenever we wanted to create some Spring Boot app, we need a lot of configurations to be set up, like, component scan, dispatches alert, data sources, JSON conversion. Okay. So to simplify these configurations, we use Spring Boot auto configurations. Okay. How to simplify? There, this is, auto configuration, you know, it is based on two things. Okay. One is like, what are all the dependencies that you added in the class path. Okay. And what are the existing configurations that you have it using annotations. Okay, there are two things that Spring identifies based upon your class path, and the second one is the existing configuration, like, what kind of annotations that you used in this project, right? So I'll tell you one small example. Okay. Like, to how to find out uh, how this auto configuration is happened, and how to check those things. Okay, I'll tell you one small example. Okay. Okay, if you see here, there are some examples that I have mentioned here: dispatchers alert and embedded web server factory, and also this default error pages, these things, right? Let me show you something. Okay. Okay, so if you remember, like, I did not added any error pages or anything to this application, right? The courses application. So I just gave some wrong. I just gave some wrong URL over here, and I hit it. Okay. So what happened? You saw something white label error page. Okay. So I did not configure anything like this. Okay. But why we are getting this one? So this is one of our auto configuration by Spring. Okay. So how this is configured, right? I'll show you. Okay, for that, let me stop this application. I'll just do one small change in the application.properties. Okay. Okay, I'm just enabling one of the property which I already added, logging level. Okay, or Spring framework to debug. Okay, now actually it was printing only info loggers. Okay, now what I'm trying to say to Spring, okay, print all the debug loggers. Okay, so let's see what it does. Okay, and let me start the application. Okay, now you see, it is printing debug related information. Okay, so debug, when you add the debug, okay, so it will give you a lot of statements on the in the logs. Okay, so some of them are, I know, something like this, if you can see. Okay, just a minute. Okay. Negative matches. Okay. Okay, might be, I think, my log. Okay, that's fine. Let me do one thing. One second. Just a minute. Just stop this. Run run configuration. Uh, Just a second. Okay. So output file. I'll just give. New, new. Okay. Let me run this. Okay. Right. Okay. It started now. Okay. I'm really sorry. Okay. Let me go back to that. Uh, yeah. So if you see here, Okay. Where is that? Error MVC auto configuration, right? Okay. So if you see here, it is auto wiring. Okay. So error MVC auto configuration. Okay. For default error view resolver. Okay. So that means, when whenever you see something, uh, some issue, okay, in the application, okay, it's not there. So, but what we can do, yeah, actually, I wanted to show you that. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. But the okay, I'll show you in a different way. Let me. Okay, if you see here, it shows some positive matches. So that means, these are all the classes, or these are all the, beans, or, anything like, any APIs that it is binded, with your current project. Okay. So in this, you will see our classes like, error class and embedded Tomcat. So all those things, if you see here, embedded web server, embedded endpoint auto configuration, endpoint auto configuration. So these things, environment auto configuration. So these things, okay, will be, added to your project. And these are all the auto configurations which are already available with Spring, and you don't require to know, you know, until unless, like, if you want to check on something, how this auto configuration is happening and all. Okay. So there, you can verify it. Okay. So let me show you, if you come to the Maven dependencies, right? So you see all the Spring Boot auto configure, right? So once you expand that, you see lot of classes. Okay, lot of classes, and lot of packages which are helping you to build all these things, right? So one of the class which we discussed is this one. Error MVC auto configuration. So error MVC auto configuration, if you see here, error MVC auto configuration. See this one, right? So where it is there, ORG Spring Framework Web Servlet Dispatch Servlet. Okay, so here it is, right? Okay, ORG Spring Framework boot auto configure web servlet error. Yeah, web servlet auto configure web, right? Auto configure dot web. Yeah, web servlet error. Web servlet error here. Okay, so here we have this auto configuration class, right? So when you open this one, this is our dot class file, and just search for white label. See, this is our white label error message which we are getting. Okay, when you have something wrong. So you never configure this thing, right? Spring itself auto configure this default error pages. Okay, if you are not giving any specific error pages, we can still override them and to your custom error pages, but yes, Spring auto configures these things. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show. Okay, like there are a lot of other things Spring auto configure for you depending on your library, or depending on your annotations whatever you're using in the project, and also depending on the class path, what are all the dependencies that you added for this project. So all these it consider all these you know all these things, and it will add auto configure few of the dependencies to your project. Okay, so this is how, like the boot auto configuration, Spring Boot auto configuration will work. Okay. Yeah, so now let me go to the next one. Okay, build faster with Spring Boot dev tools, right? This is what we are keep on talking. Okay, so how you build applications very fast, right? So there are a couple of things, okay, which Spring Boot dev tools provide. Okay, what exactly it does, right? For each and every small change, what we do couple of steps repeatedly, with the older approach. First step, you complete that change and you save it, you build it, and then you deploy it and you run it. So this is how we do, in the earlier cases. So what Spring DevTools provides, right? It wrap everything into one, and whenever you developer do some changes, okay, so it auto deploy those changes to the server, and it will restart the server automatically for you. Okay, so which will definitely increase our productivity, right? Okay, so one of the main advantage for Spring Boot dev tools was that. Okay, let me show you a small thing. So how to enable this, simple, right? You go to the pom.xml. Okay, for this application, and just add one more extra dependency, Spring Boot, Spring Boot DevTools. Okay, so I already added it. Okay, if you see here, Spring Boot DevTools. Okay, I already added it. So let me show you one small example. So what it does, I'm going back to, okay, not this one, sorry, course controller, right? Yeah, course controller. Okay. Okay, so if you see here, I'm just adding something to print. Okay, so immediately when I save it, so if you see, the server automatically started. I did not do anything, right? Okay, I'll show you one more time. Okay, so the application properties, we don't require now for the debugging, so I'm just disabling it. Yeah, just saved it. See, it auto started. Okay, so if you see here, we are getting only info. Spring started, and we got only info, right? So it took that change. Now when I go back and just hit this with the proper URL, changes, see, it is available. And let's see one more thing. I'll show you something. Yeah, this is the beauty of the dev tools. When you do some changes, okay, you don't require to wait to for the deployment and all. Okay, it auto deploys to the embedded server, and it will be ready once you go and refresh your browser. Yes, the changes will be available for you. Okay, so yeah, so if you see here, I'm just editing this, some trainer. Okay, I just saved it. Okay, so Spring automatically restarted because of the change. And if I go back here and just do a refresh, see, the change is available for you. Okay, so this is what the Spring Dev Tools will help us. Okay, I'll be a little faster. Okay, now. Okay, let me go back to the PPT. Okay, so the next one is Spring Boot production ready. So how we make this production ready, right? You know, we have to we do have multiple environments. Okay, when you come to the application side, we have multiple environments, and how we define them. Actually, we usually divide our properties file, or we do have separate configurations to configure depending on your environment. So Spring Boot provides profile kind of feature, okay, which we can use it and to load different level of properties depending on your that profile. Okay, so let's see how it does. Okay. Okay, one second. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'm just stopping this server now. Okay, because it will have multiple changes. Don't want to keep restarting that. So where do we go? Like first, if you want to do those changes, okay, I'm going to application.properties. I just mentioned you tell Spring, okay, we have an active profile that is dev, okay, and what we need to do when you give that active profile dev, okay, so you have to do one more thing also. You have to write resources properties with this name application-dev.properties. So in the application .dev.properties, what I have given logging level, okay, .org Spring Framework is equals to trace, right? So this is one of the yeah. So default is info, and let me do one thing. So let me try to change this one to debug. Okay. So so the default is info, whatever we are getting it right now, and I changed it to debug now. Okay, let me try to run this application, what it does. Okay, with an active profile, you know, dev. Okay, so if it is dev, what it is going to do, it is going to run this property file, retrieve this property file, and it is going to capture all these properties, whatever you have it in the dev, and with the properties, whatever we have it in the application.resources.properties. Okay, so let me run it now. Yeah. Okay, it seems it started already. 1 second. Yeah, well, let me do it in a different way. 1 second. I think it's not picking up. Okay. default dev and dev, dev. Okay. Okay. If you see here, so I already written one of the one another REST controller, okay, to pull weather configs. Okay. So what we have done actually, we have active on the dev profile right now. Okay. So when it is active on the dev profile, actually what it does, so it is going to load the properties, whatever you have it in this weather service. Okay. And if you see the similar properties in the application.properties file, it is going to override actually, because we have mentioned that Spring profile active as a dev. Okay. So it is going to give you the default dev.weather.com and weather dev and weather key dev. Okay. So these things actually gonna respond back to you using the weather control. Okay. How I did it actually, I just added a couple of things. I just auto wired the complex properties, whatever we have it. I'll show you. I'll just explain that how it is retrieving. But for now, I would just wanted to show you that we were retrieving something from the application dev.properties. Okay, so whenever you load with a Spring profile, okay, so it is going to load those. If the Spring profile right now it is active is dev. Okay, if you give production, so it is going to read the production property file, which is application-prod.properties, or if it is SIT, application-sit.properties. So these configurations that you need to do one time and divide all those unique properties, whatever you have, depending on the environment, divide them and store it in the different properties file. Just give this active profile in your application application.properties. That's it. Then it will everything Spring will take care. Okay. So if you see here in the logs, okay, let me pull this up. Okay, sorry. Yeah, if you see here, it shows that the following one profile is active. So it says dev. So that's why you are able to get those things. So let me go back to the PPT. Okay, so there are two things. Okay, I know one is your prop. Uh, you are adding these properties, environment wise, right? So there are a few complex properties that we wanted to add it, and we have to load them, right? Whenever you want to utilize, how you will load, you write some program, like to read those property file, uh, from the location, and we'll try to add all those one by one property to read it, right? So that is what actually we follow, right? But Spring provides a different approach, okay, to load those properties file. What you exactly need to do, very simple. Okay, so once again, so in the weather service config, I have added these configuration properties. So there are two things. Okay, one is configuration properties. Okay, which is an annotation actually, which help us to map the properties. Okay, which whatever it is starting with this name, weather hyphen service. So if you are using weather service URL, weather service UID, weather service key, all these things will be our actually variables. Okay, our private will be declared as a private variables over here. So if you see here, I declare URL, UID and key. Okay. And all these configuration properties will start with weather-service. So we have setter and getters. That's it. Okay. So Spring will take care of loading all these properties, and it will be available for you. Okay. So why we have added the component? Okay. Let's tell to Spring to handle it, to create this object, and to get all those details. It should be ready whenever I auto wire this object to some other place, right? Let me go back to the course controller. So what I've done, actually I auto wired that weather service config and pulled all the weather configs. That's it. So when you run this one, what it does, it shows that web configs loaded, and you whatever the things that you are seeing it here, yes, it will be loaded from your property file directly to you. Okay. So this is one of the way that you can load complex properties which are dependent, which are needed for you, whenever you are building an application. Okay. So this is one of the way. Okay. Yeah, let me go to the next one, embedded servers. Okay. So this is our next concept, embedded servers. Okay. So the older approach, whatever we see, okay, we install Java, we install web or application server, we install Tomcat like WebSphere or WebLogic, etc., and we deploy our the var file, okay, to that install server, right? These are very big steps. Okay, you are seeing in very very small kind of small steps. It looks very small step, but these are the very big steps that we follow for each and every deployment. Okay. So what we achieve with the embedded server, okay, it is very simpler, okay, an alternative for whatever we are looking for the legacy one, deploying these applications, right? So you just required only a Java to be installed in a system, and you can run the jar file, without any hesitation. Like you don't require any Tomcat, you don't require anything. Okay. So how this can be achieved, right? So with an embedded server concept, Spring Boot is going to assign the Spring Boot starter Tomcat or JT or Undertow. So these are the very embedded server examples. Okay, this you know this framework, like Spring Boot starter Tomcat, will be assigned, will be added as a dependency to your jar file whenever it is getting generated. So you can simply go ahead and run the jar file if you have a Java environment or Java is installed in your system. Okay, I'll just show you one small example. Okay, so let me stop this one. Okay, Spring Boot, right? First Spring Boot. Okay, so if you see here, I'll just show you one thing. Okay, current is in Java hyphen version. One second. Let me check, whether I have Java or not. Yeah, I have. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, java-jar. What does this jar file? Dot jar. Done. If you see here, that's it. It just started, right? So now if I go back to the browser and if I hit this, see, this is a older project, so you won't be seeing the new changes, whatever I have done just now with the dev related things. But if you see localhost courses, yeah, you'll get that. See, so this is the beauty of embedded server. Okay, so what exactly it is providing to you? It is providing the embedded server directly to your jar file. Okay, and whenever you want to run that, you don't require to have any of the server installed in that system. You just need the Java to be installed in that system. Okay, so Java should be there, and you can just directly run your jar file and enjoy your output. Okay, wherever you want. Okay, so this is how the embedded servers are helping us, to make very simple deployments and run those jar files. Okay, very effectively, and it's a very simple, a simpler alternative, for all the deployments. So let me go to the next topic. Okay, Spring Boot actuator. Okay, so till now you are you are actually you are working uh, on the futures which are making your work simpler and simpler, right? Okay, so using those things, actually you can develop an application very simple way and you can deploy it to the production. But if you want to monitor those application, how your application is working and what kind of metrics it has, and what are all the beans that it is available, and how to check the health. Okay, so Spring provides an a very good concept called actuator. Okay, so yeah, I'll go directly, okay, to the example, so because we are running out of time. Okay, just a minute, let me stop this. Okay, and I'm closing it. Okay, 1 second. Okay, let me start this application. Okay, for this Spring Boot actuator, so you have to do the same thing. Whenever you need something new, you just need to add that dependency to your pom.xml. Okay, something like this. Spring Boot starter actuator. Okay, you got it right. So default, actually Spring Boot actuator will provide something. Okay, where in a default way. Okay, 1 second. Let me comment this. Okay, I'm starting this application now. I'll show you what it does. Yeah, let it load, let it load. Okay, yeah, it started right now. So you see here courses, and I'm just trying to hit multiple times. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. Okay, so 6 times or 7 times I just loaded that. Okay, now how to check that actuator, right? So localhost, something like this, actuator. Okay, so what it is showing, actually these are the default three different things it generally shows to us. Okay, the one is the health of the application, whether the application is up and running or not, and health path. Okay, so you don't require. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, see, the status itself is coming as up. Okay, so you see very limited options when you come to this actuator. So you wanted more, right? So what you need to do, you need to tell Spring, okay, enable, okay, enable, all of the options, whatever you have it for actuator config. Okay, so I'm just doing that change. Okay, okay, restart it. Okay, now if I load this, so you see lot of things, right? Super. Okay, so let me go, quickly, to one of the main one, metrics. Okay, what do you see in the metrics? So there are a lot of things that it shows in the metrics. Okay, but for now, you can explore all these things. But for now, what I'm going to show you, I'm just going to show you a couple of things related to server requests. Okay, so how do you load it? Just copy paste it here. That's it. It will show you. Okay, so these are all the present statistics on your service. So there are 2 hits, for the service, and total time responded, back, to serve those requests, and the maximum time, to serve one request. So this is what actually it gives you. Okay, so let me show you something. Okay, so let me try to retrieve this courses multiple times. Okay. Okay, so now let me go back to this matrix. Actually, the previous count was 2, right? So let me refresh it. See, now it is 25 and it changed all the statistics. Okay, whatever you have it here. Yeah. So, so these are all the things. Okay. So if you want to show very specific things, right? Something like this. Okay, actuator. So let me click on this and just I'll open. So it will show you the response of it. Okay. Come, yeah, status. Okay, so this is like one of the metrics that it provides under the HTTP server request. Okay, so let me go back to the beans, or let me go back to the configuration properties. Okay, config props. Okay, let me click this config props. Okay, now you see here, right? These are all the properties that you used, or you have declared in your application dot properties, and there are other properties, whatever Spring is holding them. Okay, it will display everything over here. Okay, so I'll show you. If you see here, weather server config, this is the property that you already have in your application. So it has UID, URL, and key. So it just actually encrypted it, and it is not showing. To decrypt it, actually you have to use one more property in the Spring side. Yeah, I'll share that whenever we have whenever I share this PPT. Okay, so it is just only add that property, and your UIDs and everything will be displayed, because as this is a production service, so it will be default, actually it will be encrypted. Okay, okay, so the same way, it has multiple things that you can monitor. Okay, um, thread dump is there, to check some of the thread log, and we do have beans. Yeah, beans. So in the beans, actually it is going to give you what are all the auto wired beans for this application, right? So let me show you something. Courses. See, this is our course controller. Okay, and there is one more thing. Weather count. Okay, okay, dependencies, weather service config. That's it. Yeah. So once again, let me. I think weather service config should be there. if you see here weather service config, so singleton, it is having it doesn't have any dependencies. Okay, it is just a singleton, and and this weather service config was used in our REST controller, okay, to get all those data, right, to from the property file to load it. So this is how we use Spring Actuator, okay, to load all, to show default health checks, and to enable more features. Actually, we were using that one of the command, one of the property in the application.properties. Okay, so with that, what we are doing, what we are achieving, actually we were able to check our application health, and we are able to check application metrics. Okay, so how many requests that we had it, and how many yeah, how much total time actually it took to respond back this request, all those things will be captured. Okay, yeah, so you can explore so many things in it. Okay, but this is a very basic things, what whichever I was providing. Okay, because of the time. Okay, so yeah, we can if you have any questions while you are matching these things, okay, or while you are converting these things, okay, just go ahead and ask your questions. Okay, I can help you to resolve those things. Okay, so guys, that's all for today. And, if you have any questions, do let me know. I'll try to you know answer those questions.